Branches whipped at my face as I tore through the forest, my lungs burning as I pushed myself to run faster. I could still hear Denahi behind me, his shouts echoing through the trees. I didn't know how long I could keep this up. I didn't know where I was even going, just that I needed to get away. But as I burst through a thicket, I saw someone up ahead and froze in my tracks. It was Nakoma. My young cousin was crouched near the base of a tree, setting up camp, her large tent already pitched behind her. She looked different now, taller, older, but I would recognize her anywhere. I remembered how much she loved animals, how she'd sneak out to feed the birds and pet the village dogs when she thought no one was looking. But now, when she saw me, her eyes widened in fear. She jumped back, her hand instinctively reaching for the small knife at her side. I took a step forward, desperate to tell her who I was, but before I could even try, she gasped. Her voice trembled as she spoke.
"Stay back there! Don't come any closer,"
she said with fear. She didn't know it was me. To her, I was just another bear, a wild, dangerous animal. My heart sank, the familiar weight of hopelessness settling in again. But then she looked over her shoulder, and I saw a flicker of something in her eyes. Concern? She glanced in the direction of Denahi's shouts, getting closer now, and then back at me. Her expression softened just a little.
You're running from something, aren't you?
She said, as though trying to convince herself.
Or someone.
I could only nod, desperate and scared, and I think she saw that too. Maybe she could sense something wasn't quite right, that I wasn't like other bears. Her love for animals must have outweighed her fear because she gestured toward her tent.
"Go!"
she whispered urgently.
"Hide in there, quickly."
Without hesitation, I slipped inside, crouching low in the corner. The air inside the tent was filled with the scent of herbs and dried flowers, familiar and comforting in a way that made my heart ache. I could hear Denahi's voice getting louder as he came closer, calling out angrily,
"Nakoma! Have you seen a bear pass by here?"
Outside, I could hear her hesitate before she spoke.
No, I haven't."
She lied, her voice a little shaky. I felt a pang of guilt. She was protecting me, protecting the bear she didn't even know was her cousin. Denahi's footsteps came nearer, and then stopped. I imagined him standing there, spear in hand, glaring at Nakoma.
"You're lying,"
he said coldly.
"I know you are. You're helping that beast. Do you even realize what you're doing?"
I envisioned a new rush of frustration and anger flushing through Denahi's face as he spoke.
"That bear took Kenai from us, and now you're siding with it?"
The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. I could picture Nakoma's face, her eyes wide with shock and hurt.
"Denahi, no, I didn't. I was just..."
But Denahi didn't let her finish. His voice was filled with anger and betrayal.
"You're no family of mine if you're going to protect the very thing that killed my brother. As far as I'm concerned, you're just as lost to me as Kenai is."
His words cut through the air like a blade, and I heard him storm away, his footsteps fading into the distance. The moment he was gone, Nakoma's breath hitched, and then the sobs came. They were quiet at first, as if she was trying not to let herself cry, but soon they grew louder. I crept out of the tent, my heart aching with every step I took toward her. There she was, her hands covering her face as she cried and fell to her knees. Seeing her like that, hurting because of me, was almost too much to bear. I couldn't let her cry alone. I couldn't let her think that no one was there for her, even if I couldn't tell her the truth. I walked closer, slowly, trying not to scare her, and gently nuzzled her shoulder with my nose. She jumped, startled, but when she turned and saw me, something softened in her eyes. Her hand reached out, trembling, and touched the top of my large, furry head.
You're still here,"
she whispered, as if she hadn't really expected me to stay.
"I don't know why I helped you, but It just didn't seem right to let him hurt you.
With a yearning expression in my amber eyes, I looked at her with all the emotion I couldn't say. The thankfulness, the sorrow, the longing for her to know that I was still Kenai, that I hadn't left her. But she couldn't understand any of that. She could only see a bear, offering comfort as best as I knew how. I gave a soft grunt and pressed closer to her, letting her lean against my fur, her tears soaking into my coat. For a while, we just stayed there like that, Nakoma crying softly, and me trying to be the brother figure she needed in that moment, even if she didn't know it was me. Even if she might never know. And as I stood there, I realized that this pain wasn't just mine. It was hers, too. She had lost a close cousin today, just like how I felt I'd lost Denahi as my brother. We had both been pushed away, hurt by someone we loved. And all I could do was try to help her the way I wished someone could help me. I couldn't change what had happened. I couldn't make Denahi see the truth or take back the cruel words he had thrown at Nakoma. But I could be here, with her, and try to let her know that, at least in this moment, she wasn't alone. And maybe that was enough. For now, it had to be.